Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm E.D. Lewis. Before we get started for this video, please hit like and subscribe on the video on the like and subscribe buttons down below, and please leave a comment at the end of the video. Please, if you leave a comment, gosh, and this is take 2. If you leave a comment, please make sure it's G, PG, or PG-13. Nothing inappropriate, because it's just not nice. And I love to read those comments, and it's not good to read comments that are bad, that are horrible, and rude. Constructive is always good, constructive criticism, but not being mean and stuff. So, anyway, enough of that. As I'm sure you just heard me say, this is take 2, because I had a little mess up with the video, and somehow, I actually know how. I lost picture for, like, the entire video, except for the beginning and the very end. The very beginning and very end, so. Anyway. I'm not doing a book review this time around. I'm actually doing a kind of a tribute video. Kind of an overview and a tribute video. Of this handsome devil, Vincent Price, my favorite actor. So, we're going to talk a little bit about Vincent Price, whose birthday is just around the corner, and I plan on doing a Vincent Price week, which I do every year, where I watch a select number of his movies for a whole week. So, I'll be watching, like a movie or two every day, I think, starting the 21st through to his birthday. So, anyway, let's talk about Vincent Price, which, if you're a fan of horror, you should know who Vincent Price is. Vincent Price was born in St. Louis, Missouri on May 27, 1911, to a fairly well-off family, the Price family, of course. His father owned a confections company called the National Candy Company, where Vincent Price himself was the first candy kid. So that was awesome. His grandfather had actually started off their fortune by inventing the first cream of tartar-based baking powder, it was sold under the name of Dr. Price's baking powder. Now, there is a little bit of controversy around this, because Vincent Price claimed that his grandfather lost all his money and basically financially I can't think of the word now that I had in my head. Financially devastated the family. There we go. But according to research that Vincent Price's daughter, Victoria Price, has suggested that that wasn't true, that maybe that's more of a family legend or something. So I have no idea. But anyway. Vincent Price is in more than 100 motion pictures. Many of them horror. And he was on television in over 30 different television roles. And sometimes in movies and television, he also portrayed himself, like many actors do. He started his film career in a film for Universal Studios. It was his first film, and he was also starring in it, which is very impressive. And it was from 1938. It was called Service Deluxe. It was a kind of romantic comedy. I think it was a bit of a screwball comedy, somewhat. So, but Vincent Price is known for many genres of films. He's known for comedy, drama, horror mostly, and teen films as well. He's married 3 times, and he produced 2 children, Vincent Barrett Price, whom I don't know much about. Actually, I don't know anything about him. And Victoria Price, which I do know a little bit about her. And she wrote a book about her father and reconstructed his life through a lot of research, including from his own personal private diaries. I have not finished the book. I got it a few years ago, and then I read, select sections and pages and stuff, and then I went through and I started reading it from beginning to end and just haven't finished it. I neglected to pick it up for the video because I've mislaid it, and I just had it a few days ago, and I was like, oh, I'm going to use this, and then I mislaid it, so I don't know where it is. I don't know why I looked at the wall. I looked over there. But anyway. He had a degree in art history, as well as he traveled around doing art lectures. He collected art. He consulted with Sears. He was an art consultant with Sears, and they helped him to produce the Vincent Price collection of fine art, which was available to the public and stuff in the 1960s. I don't know for how long it lasted, though. He's also known for his gourmet cooking, in which with his second wife, they wrote several cookbooks together, notably A Treasury of Great Recipes, which has been republished within the past 5 years, I think, as long as another one that was Into the Kitchen, and it was another Treasury of Recipes book. So you can still find those. You can find re-releases of those. He was also very outspoken with a lot of his politics. He was very anti-racist. He was anti-racism is what I'm trying to say. He did not believe in being discriminatory against people's religions. And also, he was very supportive of his bisexual wife. That was his third wife, Coral, and his lesbian daughter. He also helped to educate in the 1980s on PSAs around the time that he was doing, he was the host for the TV show Mystery. He also did PSAs on television educating people about the AIDS epidemic, or AIDS virus, whatever you want to call it. So, but he is also known for, his horror films, which I mentioned already, and some of those include House of Wax, which is one of his greats, The Pit and the Pendulum, which I have right here in front of me. I've grabbed a selection of movies. Pit and the Pendulum. It was one of the Edgar Allan Poe movies that he did for Roger Corman. Did with Roger Corman for AIP, American International Pictures, along with these other two, Tales of Terror and The Raven, where he played alongside Boris Karloff and Pierre Lorre in some of these films. The Invisible Man Returns, which was one of his early films from Universal Studios. The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which is my favorite Vincent Price movie, right here. It's another AIP. It's from the early 70s. The Mask of the Red Death, which was another Edgar Allan Poe film. Witchfinder General, which is a movie that's fairly popular. I'm not a big fan of that one in particular, but it's not his worst film, or the worst film he was in, because he's good in all his movies. It's just that some of the films weren't so great. And I think my personal, out of the films I've seen of his, the worst one for me would either be Scream and Scream Again, which is paired with Abominable Dr. Phibes, or Cry the Banshee. I did not like either one of those films, so I don't know which is worse, in my personal opinion. If you love those films, that's great. I'm glad you do. It's just I didn't. The Last Man on Earth, which is based on the book I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. It was the first adaptation of it, and also the most faithful adaptation to it. He also played Baca in The Ten Commandments. He was the slave driver. He was in The Fly and The Fly Returns in the late 50s. He did a couple movies with director William Castle in the late 1950s as well. House on Haunted Hill is one, and the other is The Tingler. And then, also, going back a little bit to the Edgar Allan Poe movies of the 1960s, he did The Haunted Palace, which is not really an Edgar Allan Poe story. It's, the title is from a poem that appears in an Edgar Allan Poe story, but the plot of the movie is actually based off of The Case of Charles Dexter Ward by H.P. Lovecraft. So it's one of the earliest H.P. Lovecraft adaptations. But anyway. So, his last motion picture was Edward Scissorhands. He did appear in a TV movie after that, though. I think it was called Hands of Justice or something like that. And then he was also the voice in a movie that was released after his death called The Thief and the Cobbler, which I've never seen that or that TV movie, but I have seen Edward Scissorhands several times, of course, since I was a child. And yeah, where he played the inventor, the one who made Edward originally. But Vincent Price passed away on October 25, 1993 in Los Angeles, California, due to lung cancer. But Vincent Price is an actor who he's one of the earliest actors that I can identify with, because I was introduced to him at a very young age, and so I think I kind of grew a little bit of an attachment to him, and I love a number of his movies anyway on top of that, and so that's why he just pretty much became my favorite. He had such a presence in his movies that I don't think was quite the same as anybody else's. Other people, of course, that have come close or are about the same is Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, which, interestingly enough, Christopher Lee's birthday is on the exact same day, but he was born 11 years later, and Peter Cushing was born the day before him, 2 years after he was born. So, I think that was very interesting. And they're my other two favorite horror actors and favorite actors of all time. Of course, Vincent Price being my number one. Kind of my idol. And kind of like, how Anne Rice is my other idol, so she's my second idol, being my favorite writer. But, yeah, so I just kind of have that soft spot for Vincent Price, and I always have, and I always will, as, kind of like Dark Shadows, my favorite television series of all time. I always have a soft spot for that. And that was one I got into when I was a teenager. So, anyway. So, that's pretty much my video and my tribute to Vincent Price, kind of, talking about him and stuff, and his birthday is around the corner on the 27th, so I think if he would have lived long enough, if he would have lived to this year, he would have been, I think, 109, I think, if I did my math correctly, so anyway, that's my video. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and Wattpad, where you can read some of my writings, including the first 2 chapters of my book. You can also find my book and myself on Bookbub and Goodreads. And if you're interested in purchasing my book, The Curse of Ridge House, a Gothic novel, it is available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle editions. The Kindle edition is only $2.99. Please also visit my author page, which is also on Amazon. And please visit the official Facebook page and like it as well for my book, The Curse of Ridge House. That's on Facebook. You'd like to read the first 2 chapters of my book for free, as well as some of my short horror stories and some of my poetry, you can read that on Wattpad. And soon I plan to have another published story, a short story of erotic fiction, so not for the kids. Soon, so be looking for that. And, I think that's pretty much it. I plan on doing probably another review before the month is out, and I have another special video, planned by the end of the month. So, look for those, and stay tuned. Have a wonderful day. It's sunny out, it's been rainy recently, and, enjoy your day. No matter how the weather is. And if the weather's bad or rainy, put in a Vincent Price movie, or pick up a book. So, stay safe. Bye-bye.